Well, it was 1999, a year before the millennium, and I was asked by several organizations, Châtelet in Paris and San Francisco Symphony, to compose a work to celebrate the millennium. Every composer alive was busy that year, and I thought about the millennium and you know, what it signified, and of course that made me think of Handel's Messiah, which was, you know, a piece that I'd grown up with as a kid, and I'd always had this secret desire to create my own Messiah, the nativity story. My longtime collaborator, Peter Sellers, helped me put together a libretto, and it was Peter's brilliant idea to tell this story through the voices primarily of women and also Hispanic women.
What's amazing about John Adams' El Niño is that it takes these themes and then it multiplies them, it complicates them. The show is in English and in Spanish and in Latin. It incorporates like poems from Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz, and so you get a sense of like not just like the nativity story on like the biblical level, but you understand it as women on the journey of birthing life into the world. And I think specifically what I was really moved by in their stories, or that feels like particularly exciting to me, is like this idea of migration, the idea of danger, the idea of the journey itself, and the focus on Mary as the center of the story.
I've seen some of the storyboard mock-ups by Adam Rigg, and I was just thrilled when I saw them, because for me, El Niño is about color. It's like when you go to a Mexican fair, his set looks to me to be just thriving on a sense of vivid color, and I think that's going to mix perfectly with my orchestration and with the feeling of the piece.
If you look at, like, say, the art of Haiti, it is vibrant, it is colorful, it is rich, it is dense, it is multi-layered. The same is true with some of the artists that come from the Afro-Caribbean parts of, Latin America. Like, there's a density of color and brightness that I think speaks to the intensity and brightness of life. It is both, like, it can be both joyful and it can be also terrifying, and like that kaleidoscopic, chaotic, but also resplendent, intensity is what I think we've been excited about portraying inside the set.
Peter Sellers had this really brilliant idea of, when we get in this story to the Massacre of the Innocents, of utilizing a poem by the great Mexican poet Rosario Castellanos, who was a woman born to a wealthy ranch family in Chiapas, but who had a great sense of indignation in the face of authoritarian governments. It is a bitter, ironic poem about this terrible massacre that government troops, National Guard in Mexico, executed. They were radical students. It was 1968. This is a way of moving a biblical theme to the present. And I have to say that Julia Bullock absolutely owns this scene. She's performed it live many times and recorded it. I think it'll be a peak moment in the Met production.
I think Mary is, one of the hardest parts to play, because she has to contain the whole universe, not only in herself, but in like the future that she is carrying in her belly, and like the weight of that, the enormity of that, the act of like being in conversation with the divine is, I think, something that Julia can do incredibly.
The amazing thing about these singers is, and it's also something I think that seems to be particularly the case with American singers, is how intelligent they are. Not only did they come wonderfully prepared, but when you hear them sing, you know that they're thinking about what the words mean. It's not just a gorgeous sound or how do I look, but it's what am I saying? I think for me, the important thing about El Niño is that it toggles back and forth between extreme intimacy, the kind of intimacy that a mother might have with an infant, and then these outbursts of choral force. And much of the choral writing is very joyous. So I think it's going to be an interesting experience, to hear this in a space as large as the Met. I have no question that the big moments will be big and impressive, but achieving that sense of real focus and intimacy, that's going to be a real challenge. But I suspect that Lileana and our wonderful conductor, my longtime friend Marin Alsop, will nail it.